will apologize that Michelle's not here this week. She is out of town on a family emergency, but I do have her report and I have heard from her with all the information we'll need for tonight. Okay. So the first thing we're going to do is review the minutes from the last meeting of December 27th. Do I have a second? I'll second. All in favor? Aye. Now we'll have public input. We have 15 minutes for that, so if there's anyone who would like to talk. Okay, then we'll move along. I have the director's report that I've gotten from Michelle, and I will read from that. And first off, I'm going to join with her and thank Sarah for making these nice name plates so that we do know who's on the board and whether they are representing the city or the school district, and that's what the school means. And the city was very nice in giving us a copy of the names of the committee members. She had a call into the Ford Foundation for training, and I talked to her right before I came to the meeting, and she wanted us to discuss whether we would be open to meeting on another Thursday night or a Saturday. They're talking about maybe 2 workshops that would be 90 minutes to 2.5 hours. So that's what she needs from us, and then they'll put together a proposal based on that.
So what are the choices? Saturday or?
The choices would be either a Thursday night, other than the night that we're already meeting on, or a Saturday. And there's not a specific date yet, so we'd have to let him know, and then he could give us a list of possible meeting dates, and we could go from there.
This is for
Saturday, I'd be fine, as long as I do before. Yes. You could plan it out.
Flexible, either or.
Okay, so let her know that either or, and then we'll get the list of.
the only Thursday I could meet, we're talking about February. Actually, I don't have an open Thursday,
Okay.
unless we change the time.
And it may not be, I'm not sure if they're looking at February or if they're looking at March. I'll let her know that and see what they can come up with from that.
Yeah, Saturday's too.
Yeah, I could do either one. Okay, they've also got some computer upgrades. EAL apps of the Literary Foundation. They have a funding proposal that she's going to be giving to them to buy 6 public computers. They've already purchased 3 staff computers that were $1,169 each. She says Annie has ordered the team furniture, and the Literary Foundation also has a donation made to buy children's materials in memory of Kim Ludoin, and they purchased them and they're circulated. The donor requested that the use of book plates, which were purchased by the library, and suggested the wording. Mr. Bedoin's family was consulted on his favorite children's books. They selected Shel Silverstein titles and the DVD, The Point. The library will use the remaining book plates for use on future materials donated in memorial. The next thing is we're looking at having a book sale on March 16th and 17th in the Floor Room. Timberlake Job Corps has agreed to help move the books from storage to the library and back to storage again. And she's also looking at a couple of options for selling whatever might be left over from the sale. The plan is to rent a 10 or 12-foot moving truck for one trip unless someone can donate the use of the pickup truck for multiple trips. And the truck rental facility is just a few doors down from the library. If we did the library, we'll have discards as well as donations to sell, but they need volunteers to set up the sale area once books are brought in. March 15th is setup day. They currently have 3 volunteers, and she's invited members of the board to help as well.
Where
So-
would the sale be held?
In here.
They need a truck.
They need a truck to move the books, and it would be multiple trips. And they will either be renting a truck or asking that someone could donate these.
Are they in storage or?
They're in storage down by the timber park.
The only comment I would have on that is that March might not be the best month to have the book sale because the Book Nook, the Literary Foundation Book Nook holds their monthly sale in March as well, and you might kind of be, you might get a few more sales if you were to either, not conflict with that because of the limited number of resources and people that.
Do you know when their sale is?
All month.
All month.
Just an observation. I don't know if there's any flexibility there, but might be a consideration.
Do they have one big blow up? I mean, do they have?
Every March and October, all the books are.
Oh, I
it's
see.
over $1.
Okay.
So it's not much of a sale on the paperbacks, but on the others, the hardbacks, it's $1 off. What are the prices of the future book sale here? Are they going to?
Yeah, I don't know.
They'll be the same as what they're sold here, and then, I'm sorry, it's a fun speak.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
And then, the plan was Sunday, like half a day, then it would be like fill a bag for $1 or something like
Yeah,
to bring
private.
people in.
And I think your prices are about the same. They vary on tapes, I think, but your hardbacks are $2.
$1.
$1 for hardbacks.
It's $1 unless every
And then paperbacks or.
50 cents.
Has the library done this before?
No, because this
Not
is
for a while.
because they gave the books to Book Nook.
Didn't they many years ago?
Yes, I remember many years ago. I was just wondering what time of year they usually had it and why March was picked. I'm just curious.
That I don't know.
Because the storage unit currently is quickly filling up.
Okay.
Okay.
Because
That would
what?
make sense.
It's a storage unit.
Okay, it also says that publicity will be wide. Portland and surrounding Clackamas communities to bring in book collectors and resale store owners. Okay, down on building maintenance, the fireplace would not ignite despite a full tank of propane. AmeriGas Tech could not fix the problems. Fireside is due to come out Thursday, January 24th, so that was today, to diagnose and fix it. Were they able to, or?
Yeah, what happened was there was an air bubble, and so he had to ignite it a couple of times for the air bubble to pass through, and so now it's working. Oh, and then they did the annual maintenance of the cleanup and
So I'd like to go back to the book sale.
Okay.
You're renting a storage unit, or the city is just allowing storage?
no, on Public Works ground, there is a storage unit that doesn't cost us anything.
Okay.
There's been if I'm not mistaken, it's the same, it's like a big shipping container, like
Yes.
the semi-truck size. There's been a couple of them down there that the city has let the library, when the library was in the city hall, they had, obviously not enough space for the collection. And so they were about, I think one was entirely full of books and maybe even half of the other one, and the rest of it was stuff that was used for summer celebration or
Renaissance.
the Renaissance Fair, correct. So those are still available.
And they don't get damp in those?
Oh, there's special,
No,
there's
they're
special
watertight.
for that.
Okay. And So how much are you anticipating making on this Sunday?
I think, I'm not the person asking that.
How much is the truck renting for?
All that information came from Michelle, so.
Yeah, and she didn't list the price of the truck, she just said that the plan was to rent, you know, either a 10-foot or 12-foot moving truck, unless they can have someone donate the use of a pickup truck, in which case it would take several trips. And
It sounds like a lot if it's really full.
they had a lot down there before, I know they were building up before the library was built. And it's actually, you know, normal to have a storage unit, to have some things in there. Portland State, I think, has a whole building set aside for that.
Probably close to the library.
No,
No?
actually, it's not close to the library, but it's fairly big, I've been there.
Well, I was thinking maybe just several people with several cars and multiple trips, maybe we don't need to rent it.
See, and that's really good. I think what would really help though is to find out how much it would
Right,
cost.
right.
Because if it's not very much to rent that truck and they can do it at one time, it might be easier.
I can see spending more on, but volunteers from the job corps, so they would be free.
Right, and they're gonna be helping to move the folks into
Oh,
the
that's
truck.
Sounds like
I
a
love
lot of
them.
job.
Be a lot of work.
Yeah.
Moving on, it says that Anna had a building maintenance plan started and possibly completed, and when Michelle returns, she'll get it for us, and we'll look that over at our next meeting, and that's something that we've been discussing.
But why?
She says a building maintenance plan,
Okay, great.
which is something I think we'd really like to see. And the last thing on the list is starting February 1st and running through February is food for fines. And it's an opportunity for patrons to clear up small fine amounts and for the community to donate to the Estacada area food bank. So I've got that, and then I've got some of the reports that she sent out. They were able to get the statistics for the library from this year as well as last year. Did everyone get that?
For the December statistics. That's great.
And on it lists that they made $194.48 on their chapter 2 book sales for December. Are there any questions about these?
Well, I guess the one observation I would have on the statistics is since the public computer sessions appear to be down by a third, maybe we need to reconsider how many computers we do need then, or is that just, maybe it's something we need to monitor as we look at these comparative statistics over the next few months. I mean, I'm in favor of having a fleet of them. I think it's great to have units available, but at the same time, obviously, we're constrained by monetary budget issues. So maybe we just keep an eye on that as we move forward here and make sure that we're not purchasing equipment that won't get utilized to the maximum.
I actually noticed that all the numbers were down, at least some, and I'm wondering if part of that is because of the increase in library hours.
The weather and holidays, I would also guess, but the staff want to say anything about there's less people? counting.
Yeah, it really, I think there's a lot of things that go into that. Weather would be a big one.
I just think this is going to be really helpful. I mean, it's the first month we've seen this comparative analysis from one year to the next. I mean, I wouldn't be opposed to having, you know, if the statistics can be brought forward from even 3 years or, you know, this is very useful. I mean, did you put this together? Good job. Very nice.
I really appreciate it.
No, thank you very much. It's really useful. It is, because just looking at, to me, you know, just looking at the bald statistics for the last month, every meeting, it doesn't inform me much, and this is really helpful. So thanks.
This would be nice to see every month going forward.
Yeah, and then I think it would help inform some of the decision-making process for everyone.
I really do appreciate you taking that information out. So it makes it a lot easier for us.
Yeah, there's nothing that really jumps out. I mean, the computer sessions, yeah, that's kind of, that I don't have anything else to base it on. And things are down a bit, yeah, you know, but actually the registration is oh yeah, it's down a little bit too. We could probably lay a bit of it to the hours.
And possibly with the new computers, that will go up because if the computers were getting older, then
Yeah,
it may not have been as useful.
absolutely. Hopefully, as we have an increased materials budget and we, you know, we close to it. We added last year's collection development budget was something like $40,000, and we only spent about a little over half of that. So I mean, that's starvation right there. And so hopefully with the 70,000 is a lot, and hopefully as the collection is freshened and improved, I'm glad to hear about the weeding and all of that, and hopefully as the collection is brought a little more current and maybe a little larger volume, that will maybe increase some of these statistics as well.
Well, that's the plan, is to get all of the collection needed by March. So that way all that stuff is gone, so we will have room
Sure.
for purchases.
Glad to hear it.
Is space really a problem?
In some areas, yes.
Is it?
And I think in every library space always becomes a
Oh,
issue.
I suppose.
I guess under the general ledger, looking at revenues and expenses, under the revenues itself, there's, you know, I mean, because of the amount of the carryover, beginning cash balance / carryover money, I don't think it presents any huge problem, but, you know, this report has been generated several weeks after the halfway point of the year, and if you look at, say, library fines, for example, you're counting on getting $27,000, so we should, you know, if it was a perfect world, you would hope to be at 50% on that figure. At this point in time, we're only at a third. Although we've exceeded it in some other areas, such as miscellaneous revenue and whatnot, but you know, book sales, hopefully the large sale that's going to happen will boost that number, but you know, you're looking at 3,000 and you're not even a third of the way there, much less 50%. So you know, hopefully some of these numbers come up because it all starts to eat away at the county library funding then at some point. And at this point, we're spending more than, you know, we're supplementing this year's budget with rollover money from last year is what we're doing in order to make this year's budget work. They're taking part of that $320,000 beginning cash balance. And then if you go and look at then the operating contingency on the second page, it's down to $268,845. So that means that, if I'm not mistaken, that, 50-some thousand dollars have been appropriated from the rollover fund, the carryover fund, into this year's budget. So that's, there's no, I don't think there's any urgent problem here, but over the long haul, as I think the budget is going to have to reflect the amount of money that's taken in. Not, you can only supplement so long with parts of the rollover fund. Before then, you don't have that rollover contingency fund available. You would spend it. Soon. It comes in like three parts, and you get like 80-some% of it. If I'm not mistaken, comes is at the end of this month. Yeah. And then they make up most of the rest of it, and then sometimes there's a third payment depending on. It's like it's that the third payment is based on if people who owe back taxes. If they haven't collected the taxes, they don't give it to you. So yeah, it's basically
Show up on our next report.
yeah, and that's the purpose of the contingency fund, is because the library has to fund itself for a full 7 months, basically, before it gets, because the fiscal year starts in June, July. But the taxes aren't even paid and levied and paid until November, or some people pay over pay it in 3 payments over time, and so the money doesn't just get paid when the fiscal year starts. So that's the purpose of the contingency fund.
There are other areas that are down too, like salaries. And personnel, they're all down.
Yeah, the salaries are going to be down because of we only have 2 full-time people right now. We don't have that was based on the library director, another full-time librarian, and the collection manager. Is that circulation manager? Thank you. So there was 3 full-time people when the budget was developed, and for pretty much this entire fiscal year so far, we've only had 2. And that's something that needs to be looked at over the long haul. Is how do we get the maximum amount of service for the dollar? The other side of it is if that money isn't spent, then it will become part of the carryover to the next year, and that's not all a bad thing.
Although at some point we do want the library back up to full staff.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Agreed. Absolutely.
So any other questions or comments on the budget? I still have on my calendar that I need to get a hold of Denise and see when she is available. By the time I got home today, it was too late for me to call her.
Yeah, well, I'm still on board for, that's kind of a priority here over the next 60 to 90 days. So
All right, great.
I'd be available to let
sure we've all had a chance to glance over.
I didn't get a copy of that, I guess maybe it's on the computer.
It is.
It would be helpful to have the questions.
You know, I thought that too, and
Questions 1 through 10.
I went back to find it. So maybe what I'll do is I'll see if Michelle can get a copy of the questions, and then we can look at that at our next meeting.
Yeah, there's like,
Oh, you do have the
I've
questions?
got the survey.
Okay.
I picked one up a while back, yeah. It does make it,
They have to
The
be more
explanation.
I think we're missing, I think number one is just missing.
Yeah.
Is that that one?
So,
Yeah, some of them do have, but number one is not.
well, number one, you use the library, and
Oh, okay.
it's just right up there, 149 yeses and 3 noes, which in the 3 noes were interesting. If somebody in there, the surveyor, they were handed out, but good reasons, I mean, it just didn't fit into their style. Yeah. So, I would just like to say that I think we owe a big vote of thanks to people who went through this and collated and put it together, because there's a lot of information here, and it's good information, and it's really good to know, what people are thinking. So,
absolutely.
Lots of positive kind
Yes.
of things about the staff and certainly about the building and the book collection.
and some good suggestions too.
I thought so.
Well, I guess I would like, I'd like to see the correlation between this and then the strategic plan, which at this point we are functioning without a strategic plan, which is a requirement. It's an OLA requirement that you have one. And I don't think there's anybody that's coming forward to close the doors because we don't have one. But I would like to, if we could put that forward to, I know Michelle is dealing with things that once she's back in, it would be nice to know what the status of the survey in relation to our strategic plan, where we're going.
Isn't there a section in the strategic plan for the library from the original strategic plan?
It expired. There was an original strategic plan, but it was only, I think, was it a 5-year? I haven't forgotten. It was a 5.
We were working on it last year.
Starting all over again, or just the library part?
Updated it.
The whole thing is a library.
The strategic plan is the library.
Well, it's part of the whole city strategic. plan.
No, it's just our own,
It's not part of the city.
not this one.
Okay.
Yeah. And there were several meetings last year looking at the strategic plan and trying to update it. And I think it must have been last summer we had the last meeting, and it kind of got put on hold. So we should definitely ask Michelle to give us an update at our next meeting. Yeah, and I think we could probably do that. Would you like to have that mailed out to everyone?
If everyone would like it, we have a starting point. Would we have a starting point?
We should have. Like, as I said, there were several meetings to discuss the strategic plan and work on updating it. We'll get that taken care of.
Just one last observation on the library survey results. Janet is correct. There are just a plethora of positive comments. I would say, though, there were a total of, at least by my count, of 14 negative comments regarding the shortened and irregular hours. And, you know, budget constraints and all these things aside, I think it's still an issue that we need to look at as we move through the budget process on it's hard right now because of the not having with an interim director, and it's hard to get a grasp on the budget and exactly where it's at and where it's going to be at, because I don't want to yo-yo things around by, you know, oh, we're going to add some hours and then, oh, we're running out of money, and then that just is not an effective way to go at it. But I would like to, at the bare minimum, look at you know, we used to open at 9. I mean, if there needs to be shortened hours, maybe we open every day at 10. You know, I feel like a morning start time is standard. I mean, maybe you set it for one time for the weekdays, and you have an hour later on Sundays, or 3 hours later, or whatever it happens to be. I'm not opposed to something like that, but I think weekdays it should be consistent. If you're gonna, I think it presents more opportunity for people when they know the library opens at 10 in the morning.
It's one of the things I noticed with Oregon City is they do open the same time every day except for Sunday. Although then I looked at Westland and they don't have the same starting time or ending time.
Right. So there's some variance there. And obviously that's not.
And maybe the library doesn't have to be manned as deeply during the hours that we discovered there are certainly pockets of time when there aren't as many people here.
From my understanding, there's substantial staff here from 8 o'clock on, and including
Actually 9, but some of we start coming in at 9.
and then we don't open until
10.
10 or 11 or noon.
Well, can I?
Sure.
Okay. So circulation staff over the bags in the morning, they come in an hour before we open.
Sure.
Whereas Michelle and I, depending on if it's not the day that we close the library, we will come in at 9. So we can still get work done before we open and be ready for the public.
As you said, that's when the banks come in with books, so you can put them on the old shelf.
Yes, the courier comes in at 7:30.
We have no good one there.
Yeah, he comes in at 7:30, unloads it, leaves, and then circulation staff comes in an hour before with them to do the bags.
Approximately, how long does it take to put all that where it's supposed to go?
I think it could take between an hour and 2 hours. It just depends if we're closed, like a holiday, the day
Right.
after.
Sure.
Just the workload of Wednesdays is a heavier day versus Tuesdays is not. It just depends.
So it's erratic.
Yeah, how many people would say.
That's true too.
Well, thanks to the people that put the survey, collated it. That was a lot of work, and I think I need a little more time to really analyze the thing a little bit better and see what it tells us. It's kind of first blush. I don't know when it came through, maybe Wednesday or something, so I didn't really, or Tuesday, I haven't had time to analyze it real thoroughly. So thank you.
I think I've only printed it off today, but spending time looking through it and trying to highlight different things. But I did like all the good comments on it.
And I like the suggestion of requesting books to order.
I like that one too. Because I think they do it now anyway, and so whoever has written that just was not clear as to how it's done.
Well, the taste of the community might be quite different than what the staff thinks too. You know, that maybe there's a local.
Absolutely. It's a big community here. You know, there's a lot of variation, there's diversity in this community. It'd be nice to have some kind of avenue that a suggestion box or I don't know exactly what, but something that where material purchase selections is out. That's what we're
Yeah.
There is a box on the info desk that is for suggestions of titles or suggestions of things that they drew. And I think it was orange like during October, November, now I think it's white. It's a small little box.
Well, somebody requested that it be online, and if it were online, maybe other patrons could see it and maybe donate. I mean, you know, some books you just can't wait for and buy, and maybe they would donate or request. Current bestseller of
That might be an idea, see if there could be maybe a link online to a little forum.
$20. Encourage us to part, but and like it's art books, and I will. That's about the only time I will volunteer anymore.
And I've actually turned towards my books, e-books for the dog, so I don't have to try to find a place for another book. Okay, I think that we have covered everything, but please let me know if I missed something.
under old business.
Under new business, I have budget review process.
And that's just a matter of setting a date.
Yeah, I think that's just a matter of setting a date for the meetings to be rolled in that.
And that would be at the meeting or before a meeting.
Possibly one or the other. I think it's going to depend on when she has time this week. So I know we had a meeting last year that she came to, and I found it really helpful.
Denise has got the real handle on it. She's informative. I look forward to that.
She was very good at explaining how it was set up, and so that we could understand how it worked.
Great.
Do we have to have our budget before we make that, set that date?
My understanding is she actually puts that together along with Michelle, and then she would bring that to us.
But I'm thinking of what the monies that we get from the county. Do we have to have a number that we work on?
I don't believe so.
It's, this year's amount has already been determined. It actually,
That's what I want to
yes, it's been determined, but actually last year was a good example where I think they got like $11,000 more, because there's a number of variables. I think the largest one is collecting the tax itself, but for some reason, if I'm not mistaken, they were supposed to get 619 or 620. I got 630 last year, which is great. You know, it was a windfall that wasn't expected, but it wasn't less than what they anticipated. But yeah, I think that amount is set
Okay.
at the beginning of the fiscal year. They know what they're going to get.
And it may vary a little bit, but not too much.
No. So I have one item under new business that, part of my involvement with getting involved with the library board, coming to meetings and stuff, surrounded the sunshine laws. And the Oregon sunshine laws are what require open meetings and whatnot. And, the agenda, I know, it's not trying to be critical of anybody, but the agenda this month being set at the time of the meeting in my opinion, makes it difficult for citizens to review those minutes and decide whether they want to attend this meeting. So I would really like to see it filled out a little bit more with what exactly is the business of the meeting now, and fully understand that I know that this is kind of an unusual situation, but I think we should really make the effort to make sure that that agenda is out there, what we're going to be discussing, and there's that transparency there, so that people can look it up online, and you know, the minutes from this meeting are supposed to be posted online. I think they're supposed to be also posted in a public place within the library itself, and I believe we do follow a lot of that stuff, but we need to make sure we continue to do that, because it's not just because it's the law, although that is the governing principle, but it's also in the best interest of our community, I believe, to be informed of what is transpiring, so they can make an informed decision.
And I noted that down, and as you said, this month was a little unusual, but
Yeah.
we will make sure that information is out next month.
Great, thank you.
Oh, thank you. Okay, so the only thing I have left now is president and trustee comments. And I'll start off by just thanking everyone for being here, and thanking the person for the suggestion for having name tags, so that, you know, people coming to the meetings, you know who's on the board and who they represent. And I will see everyone next month.
And I really don't have anything to add, except that I'm impressed by the composition of the survey. I think we're going to benefit from this. There's some good ideas in it, and some delightful comments. Oh my gosh. So this is going to be available for people to do that.
I'm not sure. I'll have to ask Michelle on that to see if it can be made available.
Yeah, okay.
You're right. It's,
Yeah, it would be nice to just have 2 or 3 folders available to the public if they want to go through it.
Yeah.
And, you know, like, we have a good turnout, people are interested in the library. I think that would be nice.
And that is all I have. Thank you.
I really don't have any comment other than the fact that it was interesting to read through the comments, especially those provided by the children. Yeah, they're always fun.
My favorite comment is it's quote, "It's the most comfortable atmosphere at Vintage for a library, and it doesn't smell bad like Oregon City." Now, to be fair to Oregon City, they're in the process of signing and building a building, and we won't hold their feet to the fire. But you know, there are things to be thankful for outside of regular lives. I'm also thankful that I hope everybody else's name is spelled correctly. I think it is, but thank you for spelling my name correctly. I do sincerely appreciate it, Sarah.
Work in the library, please have me.
That's right. Well, it's been a lifetime of, what's your name? It's Craig, with a K, and they always go, scratch it out. So thank you.
most of the time I don't get my name spelled right, so I appreciate it too.
There's some variation on that being there. So.
There it is.